Well, good evening once again, and welcome to the Monday review show. A little bit later again tonight, but I did say at the beginning of the World Cup that times would have to change according to the way things went. So, but from next Monday, the World Cup will be over, of course, by this time. Well, yes, by this time next week, it'll be on the Sunday. And by then, of course, we will know who the champions of the world will be. But we will also know from our point of view and from Keith and mine's point of view, who the referee will be at that final. And we delve a little bit into that tonight. Now, if you'd like to make any comments, please do so on the bottom right of your screen. You'll be able to just swipe from right to left and leave your comments there. We'd love to hear from you. As always, of course, please be respectful of the show and of my guest. But by all means, make your comment. Now, my regular guest, and I'm very pleased to have him on the show again, is former Premier League referee, former FIFA referee, former World Cup referee, and former head of the PGMOL, which is the guys who look after the referees in the Premier League in England. Keith, welcome, Keith. Thank you very much for joining me.
Delighted to be on the show again.
The referees are getting a hammering, aren't they? Really? I mean, let me just throw in my sixpence worth. I think, and somebody wrote a great article, and I have been trying to find out who it is, and it's all about refereeing, but it's really pointing fingers at FIFA and the executive of FIFA, who are not letting the referees do their job. It seems that if they want the game to go through the full 90 minutes or 120 or an extra time, whatever, with 11 players on the field, and it would appear that they want that to happen literally at all costs. Am I wrong, or would you agree with that?
Well, I do think that we've seen, probably to be expected, some outstanding performances in this World Cup, and then we've seen some pretty poor performances. I think, I think Michael Oliver this weekend delivered a very good performance in the quarterfinal. It was a good appointment for him. He's still a young referee. A lot of debate, I think, around that high foot around Neymar, and some thinking that, some referee colleagues thinking that was a red, and I was arguing that the yellow card was reckless. We then saw the very experienced Matuidi, the Spanish referee, fall apart, disintegrate in terms of refereeing. I mean, the basic requirements of a referee, I've always been taught, is to control the match. And I think that the dilemma that referees are faced is that they want the games to flow, they want them to be entertaining, but the first criteria for a referee is to control the players. And I do think at times there's this hesitation in terms of when to issue a yellow card, and of course allowing the game to go away from them referees. I liken refereeing, and I might have said it before on this show. A game usually is about if you liken it to a boiling kettle. If that kettle is simmering, then you've invariably got two teams that are going at each other, playing football, entertaining. What the referee's got to do is to keep the lid on it and to know when to turn the temperature down and come in and interfere and stop and do his management role in that effective way. What he doesn't want to do is to get to the boiling point. And I'm fearful that referees, a lot of them are reactive rather than proactive. The prevention room, the earning of respect. But I also have to say that what I witnessed with Uruguay chasing a referee down the tunnel, it still haunts me, because that referee did nothing wrong. He did his job, and I've not seen the outcome of that. I've not seen any punishments issued out by FIFA. Whereas normally what we have seen in the past is that when there has been any disciplinary matter to be dealt with, it's been dealt with almost within 24 hours and the punishment meted out to set an example for the remaining teams in the competition. So there's lots of areas, I think, that do concern me about how, if you like, as a unit, which we normally see all referees on the same page, relatively speaking, managing the game effectively, but applying the laws. And usually in the World Cup, referees are encouraged to apply the laws appropriately and maintain control. And I feel that this weekend we saw this Spanish referee finish up with something like 17, 18 cards, yellow cards. Now, I have to say, Errol, that for me is not good refereeing. However you look at it, what he's tried to do is ignore some of the smaller fouls and found himself in trouble with players getting a bit of pain and responding and reacting to it. And as a result of that, I could see his actual control and the respect the players had for him eroding. And as a consequence, there were times when I thought this game's really going to blow up. It's going to be a real issue because he followed by being reactive rather than being proactive to prevent. Easy to sit on the sidelines and watch it unfold. But this referee is, look, he is a referee that does hand out a lot of yellow cards.
I've seen him in Champions League games. He's very, very good. International games. Very good. Yeah. So that makes me think then, I mean, you don't become a bad person overnight. So he cannot become a bad referee overnight. So the question then has to be asked, why did he issue so many yellow cards? Or perhaps were some of them red card offences on high? He thought, to keep 20 players on the field. When, I mean, going back to the 2010 World Cup, I thought Howard Webb could justifiably had 2 red cards in the first half.
Absolutely.
2 Dutch players could have been red carded.
Yes.
But Howard decided not to and just to issue yellow cards. Now, at that stage, I thought, I can understand Matau, that he wants to stay in the competition and he maybe wants to get the final, assuming, of course, Spain are not in it. So he would be in contention for that. And did he let things go a little bit too far? Whereas with Howard's situation, that was the final. He didn't have anything to worry about. He had the final. And so I could never understand why he didn't red card those players. I mean, they really justifiably could have been red carded. So is that pressure coming from on high? And according to this report that you and I are trying to find who the author is, he's saying that pressure is coming from on high. And I know that for a fact, because a referee who was at the World Cup final that I trained and mentored, he told me that all of the referee appointments, I think from the last 16, had to be on Sepp Blatter's desk for his approval.
Yes.
Now, if it be true, why the hell is he getting involved in refereeing, Sepp Blatter?
Yeah. Well, I think Blatter was always involved in refereeing. And I think he always rubber stamped whoever was going to be appointed to whatever game.
Why should that be, though, Keith? I mean, he's an administrator. He has a referees committee there. He has a head of referees who make these appointments. Why does he have to be, and I don't want to deviate too much, why does he prove, though, now, of course, he's no longer be FIFA president, but why did he find it necessary to have to rubber stamp the match officials' appointments? I mean, it's a rhetorical question. I know you don't know the answer.
I think it's got to be a power situation. I think what surprises me is that when you look at the 2 referees that are in charge of the referees committee, Busaka and Kalina, there were 2 outstanding referees. There's no question that Kalina was probably the best referee that we've ever seen. And therefore, I think that he wasn't a weak referee. He was a proactive referee that did all his own work. His expectations were high, and he was pretty cute that if someone crossed the line, issuing the red card. He was a referee of strength, of power, and always in control.
But then, Keith, that begs another question. And I agree with what you said, absolutely. But I find he has mellowed or softened his whole attitude and approach since he is now head of the referees at FIFA. So why didn't he bring that strength that he showed when he was in the middle? Why didn't he bring that into the boardroom? Because he seems to have backed off.
Well, the thing that surprised me more than anything is that normally he's out front on a regular basis in previous World Cups and Euros, stating the case for referees' decisions, highlighting specifically how referees will officiate. Now, he did that once in this tournament, but he's not come out. I think it's a little bit like, when a referee makes an error, we're human beings, we all made errors. I think that what would stop a lot of the speculation is for the clarification to come out of FIFA at this tournament to say, look, this was an error, and this is why it was an error. And then, okay, you're not hanging the referee out to dry. You with it, you've got to say why it's an error, because referees often don't see incidents. But I think what we've got at the moment is, I think we're going through a very difficult period with refereeing. I think, first of all, we've got a piece of technology, and I'm for technology, but we've got a piece of technology that is confusing everybody. And I think it's detracting from the strength of the referee. I watched the Brazilian referee very closely, and as an Englishman, disappointed with the result, but very clear in my own mind that it was the penalty miss that was the result, came shooting the ball over the top, not the referee. But when we actually look at this referee, he's missed a very clear free kick on Saka, right under the nose of his assistant referee. It's not even iffy. He's then missed the foul on Kane, where he's fouled from behind. The contention is it a penalty kick? Is it not? And you can argue that either way. My view is it was a penalty kick because whilst the foot might have just been outside the area, the point of contact for me was just below the leg, below the knee, at the back. There was this angle, and therefore, if I take that vertically down, he's on the line or he's in the area. Again, it's my opinion, and I share that opinion because it's a view. But we then had a penalty kick awarded. It took about 3 or 4 minutes, I think, through VAR on what I think was a very clear penalty kick. It was a foul on, I think, Mason Mount. Mm. The referee's in a very good position, and I can't understand why he hesitated. Can't understand why he didn't give the penalty kick, because what he was doing was like we've seen in the Premier League, hesitation, wanting to be 100% perfect. Don't worry, the VAR will pull me out of the mire. And of course, it gives the penalty kick, and that stimulates, if you like, the thought in players' minds that, just a minute, there's a weakness here. There's a weakness in the decision. The French saying it's not a penalty kick. The English saying it's denial. Why isn't he got a red card when it's not denial? And the referee takes it on the chin. So you look at it and you say, here's an opportunity for FIFA to come out and clarify some of these things, but they don't. All we've got is, we know that this same referee is going to be retained in the list for possible selection for a semi-final or a final. And on that evidence of that performance, right, for me, it would be on the plane home, because I'm going to measure the referees that I've seen over many years. Coelho of Brazil, Dienst, who had the final, Jack Taylor. I'm measuring against these referees who seem to have personality but had control. Kalina had control, and I think it's, what are they trying to do here? Are they trying to make the game more attractive and more entertaining, and saying to referees, don't apply the law strictly, because a foul is a foul?
Appear to be the case, yeah.
A foul is a foul.
Yeah. I really think, and that article we're talking about also, he says that this guy, this author, whoever wrote, and I can't find it, but on Colina, isn't he conspicuous by his absence?
Yes,
I mean,
and this is
issues.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I suppose there's other things, but he is an excellent communicator.
Yeah.
And there's no doubts about that. And I think that, we had that ball out of play in, I think it was Japan, wasn't it? The game Japan-France, where the ball was out of play. And you look at that, there was no real clarification around it, other than here's a photograph. And, the photograph could have been plucked from the air, because that photograph that we saw, which was above the head, helicopter view, there's no way that was available to VAR. And then we've had no explanation of the referee from New Zealand, Matthew Conga, who was put in jail by the VAR when a goal was scored. It was a good goal. He's restarted play. And then VAR comes in and they go back and start examining an offside and rule out the goal. Well,
and just on that issue, Keith,
that's wrong in law.
Yeah. But remember, we were always told that once the game has restarted, you cannot go back on the previous decision.
Well, you can't.
And
you can only go back, Errol, on a violent conduct situation.
Yeah.
But in here, we've got a goal ruled out for offside, which is incorrect. I don't care what anybody says. I've talked to a lot of referees on this, and very experienced assistant referees. They're all saying, on the evidence that's in front of us, the video, which the VAR and everybody else has got, that's onside. So that goal should have been allowed. But it seems to me the confusing issue here is, I think that, and I've seen VAR operating pretty successfully in the Champions League. I think in 2018, the last World Cup, I think it operated very successfully. Now we've got 7 people on a bus, if you like, in another room, and I think it's just confusing things. And I'm for technology, but I mean, if you've got the technology and it's working correctly, as we have with goal line technology, the ball's in and out of play. It's in or it's not. And it says it only when it's in. And I think they've got to get their energy and the skill sets around the operation of VAR. And if AI, artificial intelligence, which is now semi-automated, what they've got to do is they've got to get that into a fully automated situation. Take the VAR out of it and say, this is offside. And you can develop a way around artificial intelligence to do that. And therefore, okay, there are many, many layers in terms of offside, but you shape the law to meet the criteria. Just like if you've got a jet aircraft, you've got a handbook that's produced, or a car, you've got a handbook that's produced that says, this is how you switch it on, this is how you switch it off, this is how you drive the car, these are what the headlights are for. That should be the situation in offside. But we've got referees, top quality, experienced referees arguing about offside decisions. Whereas you want a situation where everybody says, look, that is offside. Don't worry about it.
With the amount of VAR guys, is it not a question of too many cooks spoil the broth?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, you increase the number of people officiating a game and you get confusion. I think that what VAR has done, and look, I'm a supporter of it and I'm a supporter of technology, but what they've got to do is they've got to get their head around it, because at the moment it's not working well. I don't care what anybody produces. I don't care whether they produce the statistics or whatever, right? It's still not working. You know, there was a Harry Kane penalty kick, which a goal was scored, I believe. The starting point of the goalkeeper was 2 feet behind the goal line. He has to, in law, to have 1 foot on the line. So if we've got laws of the game, which we have, that's the Bible in which we operate. That is where it says this is a foul or it's not a foul. This is handball, it's not a handball. And I go back to Mr. Ellery, who might just be listening in, and instead of actually clarifying and making the laws of the game more simple to understand, he's overcomplicated it by trying to be too clever in terms of putting too much information out that allows an opinion to be formed around too many aspects of a specific law, like handball, as an example.
The one you were talking about earlier, about the ball being over the line or not over the line, I think we touched on this last week.
Yes, we did.
And that one, that's it there. Now, the top right gives, or even the bottom right also gives a great indication that the entire ball is not over the line. The blue part being out of play. You can just see the green to the right.
Yes.
Pitch. And of course, the lines on the pitch belong to the areas of which they are boundaries. So the lines belong to the field of play, and that's the that's the goal line, I think.
Yes, but I mean, I know that the system that operates with Hawkeye, as far as goal line technology is concerned, will produce those photographs pretty accurately. But when we came to that incident that was outside the goalposts, we had a similar picture produced that's not available to VAR.
Yeah.
Hence my discussion. Don't try and fudge us or overcomplicate it. Just give us, if you like, the truth. Don't allow, if Michael Oliver should have sent the player off that had a high boot with Neymar, clarify it. Say that this is a red card offence. Use it as an example for the future. You have to inform the public. You have to inform the fans. But, there's another aspect of these things that are taking place that concern me. Why, when a goal is scored, do we have to have every occupant of the technical area chasing after the goal scorer and then spending a minute or 2 minutes celebrating the goal being scored? It's an overindulgence, I think, that FIFA are not dealing with.
Have the big countries, like the big clubs in the Premier League, have they too much power, and are they using that power sometimes to the detriment of refereeing, in that referees are afraid to make a decision, a correct decision, because of the repercussions and the backlash from the clubs in the Premier League or any Premier League, and in this instance from the World Cup? Are the referees scared to make the decisions that need to be made?
Well, I would hope not. I generally think at the end of the day, there's this balance that has to be made by modern referees, that is entertainment and not over officialdom on the field of play. But the truth is this, that we taught, aren't we, as young referees coming through, that make certain that in the first 20 minutes you're in control of the game and you've got the thing gripped, and then you may be allowed to free up a bit. What we've got, I think, is points when the game looks as though, from a layman with a degree of experience of refereeing, where I'm thinking, look, I don't want you to be the sole entertainer. I don't want you to dominate. I just want you to effectively apply the laws of the game in a sensible manner. But I want you to come out of this in a, rather than being hammered by the media and everyone else, including myself at times, because I mean, I just watched the Spanish referee. I know he's capable of doing it much better, but you know, it just went away from him. And you're thinking, look, this is a world-class referee that spent his life trying to get to the World Cup. Don't tell me about any disappointment. We've all as referees faced that. I suggest that here was a referee that was almost using cards like confetti. It went out of control. It didn't explode, but there was steam coming out of the kettle, and he tried to arrest it back with cards. When I'm saying, look, it started in the first half. Get the match delegate from FIFA in your dressing room and say, look, will you send a message out to the two teams that the image of this game is being tarnished because they're questioning every decision I'm making? I can be tough, and I intend to be tough in the second half. That's a preventative action. It could, on the field of play, it could bring the captains together as a token to say, look, I want an improvement in behaviour. And, you know, one has to say that if you've got 17 yellow cards, I used to say, if I'm getting, and this is how I was taught, if you, Mr. Hackett, are getting close to 5 yellow cards, you've got to make certain the next one is red.
Well,
That's what he used to say to me.
Yeah, and I remember being told that as well. Not 5, but 2 yellow cards, and the third one is red.
Yeah,
regardless.
yeah. And that's how we were brought up.
Yeah, of course, and it worked for us, Keith, which convinces me all the more that the administrators at FIFA don't want any negative publicity, but at the same time, they're not giving the referees the real power to do their job according to the 17 laws of the game. Most of them, of course, will deal with Law 12, but they're not allowing them to do it.
Yeah, I think
that Anthony Taylor has been retained.
Yes,
even though he sent off the was the South Korean coach or the whatever.
Yes, it was.
Michael Oliver, who's been one of the better referees, if not the best, has been let go.
Well, I think it's surprising. I think we've seen a number of good referees. I think the Mexican referee was put in 3 good performances. Venezuela, the referee, was also a good official, and I think there's no doubt in my mind that Oliver delivered 3 very, very good performances. I think the United States referee, Ismail, is a very experienced referee. He's done really well in Americans and CONCACAF, and he's retained, and he must be in a position where he's got high expectations of getting the final. So that would be interesting, an American getting the final. And Ismail has actually delivered well. He's fit, he's mobile, he's a good communicator. I think the only thing that's going to work against him is the fact that I think his country of birth might be Morocco, or his family's connections with that particular country might just rule him out of the final if Morocco get through. I'm pleased he's retained, but I was shocked when I was informed this morning that Michael is on the way home, having not been retained, because I think he has been one of the better referees. It's a sort of indication that at this stage anyway, I'm sure that they will know who's going to referee the semis. Sato, the Italian, who I thought might have had the final, given that he had the opening game, will be refereeing the Argentinian game. semi-final, the first
Yeah.
semi-final. So that rules him out, I would think, of the final. So I think a great deal of speculation. A lot of people are certainly in Europe are saying that the referee from Poland is a very experienced referee and he's done well also. So
Yes.
Don't ask me. Yeah, don't ask me to pronounce it. But I think effectively, I do think that politics come into this. There's no doubt Anthony Taylor's had a good referee, a good World Cup. I still rate Oliver ahead of him. But the one thing that elevated Taylor in the eyes of certainly UEFA, and I think rest of the world, was how he handled the problem in the opening game of the Euros with regard to the Danish player and his heart attack on the field of play. And I think everybody admired Taylor for the way he actually handled that. So that might have influenced people like Kalina saying, well, he did really well on there. And Kalina obviously will look at all of these referees and watch them in their domestic competitions and in their regional competitions to determine who's going to be. But as I understand it, certainly I think there's 5 male referees that have not had a medal, and there's 2 women referees who were brought on with a great deal of fanfare, have not actually refereed a match.
Oh, Stephanie Frappant, didn't she, from France?
She did one game.
She did
She
Germany.
did one game. Yes.
Yeah, somebody.
And refereed really well.
Yeah.
She is without a shadow the best woman referee in the world, and she referees men with great efficiency. And what is very noticeable is the respect that the players gave to the referee. And on another point, talking earlier about the England team, I expected them to pick up a few yellows and a few reds, given the temperature of what we were seeing. And in fairness, they've gone through the tournament with only 1 yellow card, which is great credit, I think, to the manager and his coaching staff to implant that into the behaviour aspects of players.
Yeah. There's we don't do requests, Max, but I'll do this for you. Max Caddy says, can you say happy birthday to my friend Jack Huff? It's a very special birthday and it means so much to him as he was your first subscriber. Was he? Well, happy birthday to your friend, whoever it is, Max. We don't do birthday requests and I can't play any music, but
happy birthday.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I did see one of the semi-final referees, and I can't remember who it is now.
Oh, Sato, the Italian.
Yeah.
The Italian.
Actually, he would have been my pick for a final as well.
Well, I generally thought that's where it was heading.
Yeah.
I think his opening game was first class, and I think the games that he's refereed, he's done really well. He's a firm referee in his approach to the game, but I think having been given what I think is a tough semi-final, I think Argentina has not been an easy team to referee in this tournament. I think they've shown a great deal of indiscipline at times towards the referee, too much chatting to the referee. Messi was talking to him all the time. I think they've played the tactical game that's not quite being picked up by referees. I think that Osato is, if he follows in Kalina's footsteps in that sense as an Italian, he'll have done his own work. He'll be well prepared. Watch this space. I hope he has a good game.
Keith, thanks very much for coming
Pleasure.
on. You had to rush back to come on the show, and I really do appreciate it. And thank all of you for watching. Next Monday, with the help of the man above, we'll be back at usual time, 7 o'clock UK time. Meantime, keep sending in your questions and your comments. We'd love to hear from you. So until next Monday, 7 o'clock, good night and God bless. Thank you, Keith.
Good night. Thank you.